In early February, Paul Kalazak took his puppy Guzio for a walk. Almost every day, Paul went to a wooded area with his furry golden, so he was confident that his pet knew the area well. After checking that there were no other dogs around, Paul released Guzio to allow him to explore more freely. The result was devastating. After a few minutes, Paul began calling Guzio to indicate that he should return to him. Normally, the beautiful golden was the most obedient puppy, but hours passed and he did not return to his owner. The distressed Paul searched for him until nightfall, but it all seemed in vain. There was no sign of his pet anywhere. For weeks, he refused to give up and constantly returned to the forest in the hope of finding his puppy. Paul distributed pictures of his dog and asked all local residents to be on the lookout if they saw him. More than a month passed and Golden's owner began to suspect the worst. He couldn't imagine that his loyal little dog was still alive, but he was stuck in a hole that was simply impossible to get out of. Finally, a man with a puppy named Diego entered the same forest and soon realized that his Jack Russell was behaving very strangely. Diego seemed determined to go somewhere at full speed. He started barking very loudly, trying to get his master's attention. He pulled the collar so hard that he practically dragged the man to the place he was so curious about. It was a huge hole that had poor Guzio in his bones. Diego's owner immediately recognized him as the dog that Paul had been looking for weeks. At that time, his main concern was to save the furry one. He then returned home in search of a ladder and climbed down into a hole to lift Lucius into his arms. He was extremely weak and everything indicated that he had spent 32 days in that terrible place. He only managed to survive by drinking some water through the melting snow around him. It was therefore a real miracle that they found him alive, and all thanks to the astute Diego. When Paul was reunited with his puppy, there was no room for happiness. He is still regaining the lost weight but is strong enough to have a few play sessions with his new friend and hero, Diego. Don't leave without sharing this note to celebrate the wonderful rescue of this furry guy. Diego is a hero who deserves recognition.